Reaction from Capitol Hill is pouring in following Donald Trump's social media post saying that he's been informed by special counsel Jack Smith that he is a target of the investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Congressman Don Bacon joins us now. Congressman, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So I have to start by asking you about the big news of the day, and that's Donald Trump announcing that he's facing another possible indictment, this time related to his efforts to overturn the election, allegedly. So what's your reaction? And do you think that this should disqualify him in his bid for president?
First of all, I think the charge is serious. Any charge from a federal court like this is serious. Secondly, our elections are precious and we have to protect them. We work hard during an election to win. And I'm a believer after 4 elections and more than that if you count primaries, that you win gracefully. And if you lose, you try to do so gracefully as well. And the courts weighed in at every step. And so we have to protect our elections. And finally, I would say, let's let the rule of law decide here. We believe in the rule of law. So let the prosecutor make his case. We'll let the defendant, the president, make his case. And then we'll determine if the election, whether or not he should run or not, and make that judgment based on the verdict. In this case, both sides get to make their case, and I'm willing to listen.
I want to play for you what House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said about this. He has a very different take, and I want to get your reaction.
I think the American public is tired of this. They want to see equal justice, and the idea that they utilize this to go after those who politically disagree with them is wrong.
Congressman, should he be taking this approach, writing off charges and potential charges against the former president as simply the weaponization of government?
Well, I would say there are differences of opinion. I do believe these charges are serious. I'll say that right up front. I know many of my colleagues see some disparities, whether, it's some of the previous cases with secrets in a garage, secrets in apartments versus the president being charged. I would also say 2 wrongs don't make a right, and all these cases are different. So I wouldn't say that I share the speaker's opinion on this. I would like the prosecutor to make his case, and then the president gets to defend, and we'll go from there.
Let's talk about defense spending. You sit on the House Armed Services Committee. Defense spending normally a given, but last week it barely passed in the House after your party attached some amendments having to do with abortion and transgender care in the military. Did those amendments belong on that bill? And will you vote for the bill if the Senate strips the amendments out?
Well, your second question, yes. This is going to look like 2019 when the Democrats controlled the House and the Republicans controlled the Senate. The Democrats put in a lot of their favorite bills, and it was a very partisan vote. The Senate stripped it out, and then it was passed in a very bipartisan way. I think this will roughly turn out the same way. We passed what I would consider a very Republican-oriented bill, pro-life, and a lot of these various factors. I would point out, though, Nancy, that about 9 or 10 amendments were also defeated by Republicans and Democrats as well. So there was some bipartisan elements in what we passed. But the Senate will, is controlled by Democrats. They will strip out some of this, maybe much of it. I don't know how much. And it will come back. Well, we'll be doing a reconciliation bill. And I very much assure you and the American people that whatever we reconcile with the Republican House and Republican Senate, it will be passed overwhelmingly by the House.
Well, those are encouraging words. Right now, Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville is blocking dozens of military promotions over abortion. Do you see his moves as a threat to military readiness? That's how the White House described it today.
If this goes on for a long time, it does have impact. But there's 2 sides of the story, Nancy. On one, the secretary was warned, and I know this firsthand, that if he made these decisions, there was going to be a lot of pushback from Republicans, though we didn't know it would be from Senator Tuberville. We knew it would come from somewhere, because in many states, this is the #1 issue, the pro-life issue. And so he unilaterally did this against recommendations from leadership on the Republican side. I do think there's an opportunity for these 2 to sit down, shut the door, and there are compromises that can be had that can be a win-win situation. I believe in a democracy and a representative government that we have with a bicameral separation of powers. You can't just do things unilaterally. You got to sit in a room and find an area that both sides can agree to. I personally think Senator Tuberville and Secretary Austin could sit in this room and find an agreement where Secretary Austin gets somewhat of what he wants, but Senator Tuberville also protects the taxpayers' money.
You know, you've talked a lot about civility in Congress, civility in government. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is a candidate for president on the Democratic side, he's been invited to testify to Congress about censorship on Thursday. Now, this is somebody who has spread conspiracy theories about COVID, about various vaccines, about Ukraine building bioweapons. Is this somebody who should be testifying before Congress about anything?
Well, I disagree with Mr. Kennedy's comments, whether it was the COVID and how it was selectively engineered to protect the Jewish people. I think that can easily be twisted into some of the old Jewish anti-Semitism tropes that we've seen in the past. I'm a supporter of Ukraine. I think it's in our national security interest. But I also know that it's all right to get differing opinions, and there's more cost if we shut people off in our system of government because people will feel like they're being discriminated against or not given a voice. So I disagree with Mr. Kennedy, though I don't want to prohibit him from having a voice because I think the cost of doing so is even greater. We just got to be clear when we disagree and say why. That's part of freedom of speech and our freedom to debate these key issues.
Interesting. Congressman Don Bacon, it's always so interesting
Thank you.
to talk to you and get your perspective. Thank you so much.